Alright folks, this is the V4.
Hybrid thing freaked me out for a second.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, now I know what you're talking about.
Hybridized.
Yeah.
Well, if you haven't already figured it out, based on the intro clip there, we are going to be doing something with the exhaust, and then based on all these parts that are laid out here in front of us, we're going to do a catback exhaust on Burke's Toyota GR86 from the Road Odyssey channel. If you haven't already gone over there and checked him out, please do so. But he brought the car down, bought this exhaust system, and we're going to go ahead and try to install it and see how that goes. But real quick, the exhaust system is from MBRP, and I don't know if you can see that logo on the tip or not, but these are really kind of pretty, you know, with the colorized tips, the heat treated or whatever they do for that. But all the welds look great. The exhaust looks like a really good kit, so we'll see how fast it goes in. Hopefully it won't take us but a few hours. I kind of don't think it's going to take that long, but every time I say that, well, you know, time gets away from me. But anyway, let's go ahead and dive into this project. We'll put the car up on the lift and start getting that stuff pulled apart. It is still warm yet, so we want to turn the fan back on, get some of the heat blown out of it, and you don't want to listen to that on camera. So let's do that, and we'll be back here in a few minutes. All right, so we're up in the air now. I just want to do a quick rundown of what we have to do. We've got a hanger here. Let me see, a hanger here, one here, and there's another one here, so that's 5 so far, and then the 2 bolts that hold it together. So really it looks on the outside to be a pretty simple process. This exhaust is going to eliminate the center resonator right here, and it's going to eliminate this big muffler back here, and it's going to replace it with the 2 smaller mufflers that shoot off to the sides. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start pulling this thing apart, and we'll update you as we go. I'm going to try not to be one of those ones where you just sit here and watch us work. So we'll do progress updates and see how that one works out. All right, I did want to say one more thing before we get started. Is I want to look at the tailpipe, the exhaust actual kind of the fitment where it goes in here. This is going to be a lot different on this one, or on the new one versus this one. Right now this one it's centered good and all that, but it's kind of set back in a little bit, and it's smaller. So the new exhaust tip should be a little bit bigger, and it should extend out further, but we'll see that when it gets here. All right, so here's what we're doing. I went ahead and knocked this back one loose. We're going to take out the back first, and then we're going to take out this pipe here. We've already taken out 2 of the hangers on the back here, but we'll get the rest of them here in a minute. And so now, because I'm getting ready, this one's loose, we're going to go ahead and pull these hangers off, drop this piece out, and then we'll take this pipe out, and then we'll start putting it back together. Should be relatively easy, but you know, things happen. So there you have it. Hopefully this is going to help somebody. All right, I pulled the one hanger out. I forgot to hit start on the camera, so there we are. We got that one is out. This one is basically out. And we are about free. All right. And that should be about it. Yep, you got it?
Yes.
All right, out it comes. See, it was just that easy. All right, so now we're going to pull these 2 bolts, and then I think we're going to pull the that hanger after that. Oh, come on now. Now these ones have these little fumble springies and whatnot in them, so make sure that you put these back where they belong when you put it back together. All right, that one's out. Trying to hit myself in the head with it. Be mindful of that. I've got that. All right, so the old exhaust is out. And we have plenty of room here for activities. And then that's where we'll start bolting the new one up here in just a minute. Okay, so here's kind of a side-by-side. This is the old one and the new one. A little bit of difference. We'll see how it goes when it goes back in, but we're getting ready to do that right now. Oh, welcome to the wonderful world of YouTube, where my screw-ups can be fun to watch or not, whatever. Anyway, I forgot to charge my Rode wireless microphone batteries, and of course they died, and that left me with a good section of this video that doesn't have any audio, so we're doing voiceovers, which is always fun too. In this segment here, what I'm doing is replacing the factory pipe, that one that had the resonator in it. In the previous, when you could see the two of them side by side, if you back up and look at that one, you can see that this one had is the replacement pipe for the one with the resonator in it. So we're putting these spring bolts back in here, and these ones, you tighten them down. I think the torque spec on it was like 30 foot-pounds or something to that effect, which is not a whole lot. But the idea is these ones have the springs on them, so it gives the exhaust a little bit of movement right in that area while still maintaining a seal on it. And so that's what we're working on, that one. And that one goes in, like I said, 30 foot-pounds. But of course, we're not tightening anything down to torque spec yet. What we want to do is get the exhaust in place, get it all lined up, and then we'll start at the front of the exhaust and work our way back. In this one, we're getting ready to tie in the actual Y pipe or whatever it is in the back of it. It's the splitter that sends the exhaust to the two mufflers, one on each side. The fun part of this one is trying to get it in there and get it all kind of supported and lined up and everything else. And it's not really a pain, it's just kind of tedious at times, because what you're doing here has a big effect on what the exhaust tips look like at the end. And so you got to make sure that getting this all together, and like I said, don't tighten it up until you get everything in place and kind of going where you want it. And then you're going to wind up tightening stuff up and loosening stuff up multiple times as you go. I think I came back afterwards and put a little bit of, before I actually did the final tighten, we put a drop of Loctite on these bolts and then tighten them down from there. Really, there's no torque spec per se on the hanger bolts. They say tighten them down until just before they break, which that's great. But now we put a pretty good reef on them to get them nice and tight. And of course, we check for leaks when we fire the car up at the end. We left it on the lift, did a quick fire up to do a leak check for exhaust, and didn't have any leaks anywhere. And so then we went ahead and did the outside part of it, which was the fun part. So this is putting the exhaust hangers back on. Of course, we used the factory rubber hangers that were already in place. A good tech tip on this is have a little bit of a silicone spray lube, and you can just put a quick spritz on the rubber gaskets or the rubber hangers, and they'll slide on a lot easier if you have a little bit of help. And that stuff dries and dissipates anyway, so it's not like it's a big deal. It's not going to burn or not going to do anything like that, as long as you're not using you know, a whole can on this, but yeah. See, poking that thing in there can be a little bit of a bear sometimes to get it to move, and that's where that little spritz with the silicone makes it a lot easier. Of course, I'm not doing that here. I think I already did, but looks like I've chosen to just fight it instead of getting the mechanical advantage of a slippery substance. Kind of checking it from here too to see how it looks from front to back and make sure it's sort of kind of lining up the way we want it to. Anytime you're putting in a new exhaust system that's not a custom bend, it's, you know, it takes a little bit of finagling and trying to work it through your brain as to which end is going where and how it's supposed to look versus how it's going to look. Oh yeah, that looks completely out of place right there, but it'll all tighten up. It'll wind up looking pretty good in the end. Yeah, hanging the mufflers. I think I thought that was a great idea to hang the mufflers first, because getting the hangers on once we have the muffler in place is pretty tight. Of course, Burke's working pretty hard at trying to keep me straight and keep my brain functional. Really wish we had the audio, because I have no idea what I'm talking about here, but it must have been something really intelligent, because that's kind of how I do things, right? Oh yeah. Once the other hanger goes in, that should bring the tip pretty close to straight. It looks like it's straightening out pretty well. That was a little bit of a kind of a tedious part of it for me, getting the actual tips to line up where I thought that they should be. And I'm not 100% satisfied with it still, but it's pretty dang close to where it should be. I don't think that the majority of people are going to notice it, but I do. It's out of ordinary. But I think we're getting ready to work on another piece of this, so I may do a little bit of adjustment on those exhaust tips once the car's back up on the lift here, whenever that happens. Just because it bugs me. Now the other side, I think, yeah, I had to basically just jam it on there and then get the hangers in place and kind of twist it into them. Probably would have worked for the other side too, but looked a lot more exciting that way. My concern here too is that the exhaust hung down. That kind of that Y pipe piece hung down a little bit further than what I thought the factory exhaust pipe hung down, and so just a matter of trying to figure out how it's going to sit when it's on the road and make sure that it's not hanging down too low that he's going to run over everything, but high enough that or low enough that it doesn't hit anything above it. So there we go. We're using the magic juice there. Now my hands are probably going to be so slippery that I can't grab a hold of anything, but that's okay. I think at some point I grabbed a pry bar and started prying those donuts back on too, and that helped. It's okay as long as you're using your head when you do it, so you don't have that steel pry bar up against something that you're going to mar or you're going to screw up a surface on or something like that. But just be careful, be mindful of what it's up against, and you shouldn't have any difficulties with it. Looks like I got that other hanger in place relatively easy, just a matter of squeezing it on there. Close. Yeah, here comes a pry bar. I knew I had one in there somewhere. And it just took a little bit more persuasion than what I could get out of my hands being at that angle or whatnot, and so it worked. See, and that's what I'm saying right there. I'm telling you that, you can put it up there and just squeeze it in there a little bit, because whatever the reasoning was at the time. Well, if my facial features are any indication, it looked like I was trying to pull calves or something like that going on up in there. That would have been a weird angle for that, but you get my drift. And just to clarify, I've never personally pulled the calf. I've seen it done, but I've never done it. So I've been calf pulling adjacent, I guess is the way we say it these days. Alright, so now we're kind of leaning into starting to adjust it a little bit. So we're getting that one on, but clearly we don't have that one on. But that's this hanger that's right here at the back. That's, yep, there it is right there. That one will go on there. Then we will reach up there and slide it onto the upper hanger. And I think this one went on pretty easy, but not without the silicone. But that's the stuff that I use for it. So little spritz, push it up onto the hanger, try to reposition it, and that's what I'm talking about with the tight spaces. Getting your hands up in there is not the easiest thing on these. I thought my bald spot was worse than that. I guess I'm okay. Oh yeah, it popped right on there, and it looks, from here it looks pretty decently lined up, but once those tips go on there, yeah. And here in a few minutes, I think I'm going to get some audio back, and once that happens, then we'll talk about those tips and getting them on there. It looks really close from right in there. Now, if that one's off just a little bit, you can see it's a little bit towards the driver's side. But it's a matter of shimmying that pipe down the Y pipe a little bit, getting it on to where we want it to be, and then putting the tips on front to back. But we're going to do that here in just a minute, because it looks like we're coming up on actually having some regular audio again and not having to listen to me fumble my way through a voiceover. Yeah, check that out. They lined up. Alright, so this whole process has been so far really, really easy. It doesn't take a whole lot of time, but I have one, well, you can't see that now, complaint, and that's the mounting bolt or the clamp bolt for the tip. It would have been really nice if they had made them to fit each side, because this bolt, when you put the tip on, is pinched up kind of against the side of the body, and makes getting something into the Allen head right here to tighten it down kind of a pain. So that would be my only thing. If they'd have flopped it around so that you're tightening it from the inside instead of the outside, it would have been really nice, because the driver's side was a piece of cake getting it down, tightened up and all that stuff. The passenger side's been a little bit more problematic. So I just want to throw that out there. But we'll be done here in a minute and show you the finished product. All right. So they're on. I lost a little bit in there. We had some battery issues with both the camera. Thank you, GoPro, for creating something that just really runs like an oven sometimes. And so anyway, it shut the camera down, all that good stuff. And then the microphones died. So we went ahead and did some work, got it lined up, all that good stuff. I wanted to touch on a couple of things real quick. We did not use any Loctite on the band clamps at all, because one time at band clamp, anyway, I just had to throw that in there, sorry. But we just felt that if we have to adjust anything, we just don't want to run through that, and it's really as simple as throwing it back up on the lift and tightening things down. We tightened them up to 45 foot-pounds for all three of the band clamps. Now I've got myself screwed up, so you guys can laugh at me if you'd like. But everything is lined up. The pipe diameter is bigger, so it hangs down a little bit more, close to an inch lower. So if you have a clearance concern, then keep that in mind. Now, we talked about the exhaust tips. Let me grab the, hang on. But now that it is up in the air, this is, if you can see my finger back in there moving around, that's where the bolt is for the clamp. But if you come out to the side, you have to get in there, and it's a, oof, let me even try to see it. It's about maybe an inch, inch and a half, and no ratchet or anything I've got does it. And so make sure you have a set of the good old-fashioned old school Allen wrenches, because that's what we needed to use in order to get that one tightened. And that's my point, is if the bolt head had been on the inside, we'd have had no issues whatsoever. It would have been fantastic. So that's my only big complaint about this. I think that covers it. let's close it down, get it down off the lift, and then maybe we will take a listen. Maybe. You know, we're going to do a cold start on it, right? So, all right, be right back. Well, that's it. There you go. That's a project that's in the books, and actually it was really easy. I think start to finish, it probably, had we not been dealing with cameras and all this other stuff that we do so that we can try to help other folks see what the problems or the potential issues are, it would have gone great. Probably maybe an hour and a half. It really was simple because the exhaust doesn't go over axles or anything like that, like standard, you know, cars like that. It all goes right underneath it, so it's fantastic. But anyway, other than that, the only issue that I had that I don't care about the kit is that with the exhaust tips, I wish that the bolts were clocked for driver and passenger, or not clocked, but clocked, but so they were turned around so that you can access the Allen bolts from the insides where you have the most room, because that little bit of space there. But really, for being that only complaint, yeah, you can't ask for a whole lot more. Just use the old school Allen wrench and get it done. And I'm sure there's other tools that have worked. I tried to use my offset wrench, but didn't quite have enough room, but didn't invest a lot of time in try to make it work anyway. So there's that. What do you think about the difference between the before and the after? Because the after's coming next. I'm gonna get done and then I'll throw the after video along with a cold start that we did. So might as well have both of them. We'll run it outside and do a little bit of revs and all that kind of good stuff. So hope you enjoyed it. Tell me what you think. Let us know what whether you would have gone that route or not. I'm not going to put a price out there. That's not mine. Go over to Burke's channel. Go over to YouTube's Road Odyssey, and he'll have a video out before too long too. And so you can take a look at it. And I'm sure he'll do that if he wants to or not. I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but you know, pretty easy stuff. I think I touched on everything. Other than that, that's about it. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing. I appreciate it. Need all the help I can get. Watch all the way to the end for the cold start and the after video. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching Yellow Jacket Garage, and as always, we'll see you on down the road.
All right, folks, this is the before. Well, and now the after.
Yeah.
Okay.